This is my grandma, Kathy Godel, and I will be interviewing her on the women's movement.
Okay. I'm happy to be with you.
When were you born?
I was born in 1949 here in Cincinnati.
How old were you during the time of the women's movement?
Well, I graduated from Mother Mercy in 1967 and went to University of Cincinnati. And during that time, we were pretty much more involved in the Vietnam War and the protests going along with that. And when we got to college, it didn't seem to me that there was a lot of opportunities for women, or at least none that were really pushed things out of the ordinary. You could either be a nurse or a school teacher. And I started to go to school to be a school teacher, and halfway in I thought, I don't want to do that. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
But there weren't the opportunities available to women then that you have now.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things is in all colleges now they have women's studies where you actually take a course about. We had nothing like that. So that is such an improvement that you young ladies have that opportunity to be able to study that.
Where would you, well, since you went to school to become a teacher, but before that, where did you, work?
Well, when I was going into my senior year, I believe, Mike Soldano had a pizza parlor called Papa Gina's out in Bridgetown. And I worked there for about probably a year and a half. Best job I ever had. We had more fun. There were elder boys and LaSalle boys, and just a great place to work for a teenager.
What kind of clothes did women wear back then?
Well, we were into mini skirts. We wore wore Mercy uniforms during school, but when we would go out, seniors and in college, we would wear mini skirts and go-go boots.
I don't see you in that.
Oh yeah, I was pretty cool.
When were you introduced to the movement personally?
Well, again, I think it was kind of an eye-opener when I was at college and realizing that there really didn't seem to be a lot. There was a lot for the guys to do, even sports.
Yeah.
At Mercy, we didn't have any kind of sports team to my knowledge back then.
Because you didn't have a gym.
We didn't have a gym. Your art room was our gym.
Yeah.
So you can imagine trying to play basketball with that low ceiling. But that was our gym.
What were your views on the women's movement back in high school and college?
It probably wasn't until they started talking about the Equal Rights Amendment that myself and my friends got really interested in it. And in 1972, they introduced the Equal Rights Amendment, which was, I don't have my paper here, was simply 24 words saying that the United States nor state could infringe on anybody's rights as pertaining to sex. And it was 24 words, that's all it was.
Mm-hmm.
And
they wouldn't pass it.
And some states ratified it, but other states didn't. And to this day, it's never been passed, even though there is talk now of bringing it up again.
Yeah.
Instead of sports, women would perform in the arts, such as singing or theater.
Who were the main women in the movement that you remember?
We had a lot of really strong women. There was Betty Friedan, who wrote The Feminine Mystique, and that kind of really started the whole thing. And there was Gloria Steinem, who, believe it or not, started out as a Playboy bunny, but evolved into the woman who started Ms. Magazine, which is still alive today. There was Bella Abzug. She was a congresswoman in New York. She wore these fabulous hats. And Shirley Chisholm was a black woman in Congress who was just such a strong, strong voice. And there was also Barbara Jordan out of Texas.
Did you ever feel less because you're a woman?
I don't think I did, because I come from strong women in my family. I was never afraid to stand up for myself or to argue a point to death if I had to. I do remember quite distinctly, though, arguing with the guys we ran around with in college over the fact that men were better athletes than women. And I find that highly offensive. I said, you know what, they may not be as strong, they may not be as tall, but they probably can make up the difference in their intellect and in their how quick they are. And, there were a lot of late night, not arguments, but conversations with our male counterparts over these points.
Was there anyone close to you that you were involved with in the movement?
I would say most of my friends, and they're my friends today. Mary Beth Kenkel, who is Dean of Psychology and Social Studies at FIT, the smartest person I know, Mercy Grad. But I think when I went to Thomas More College prior to going to UC, and I again met a lot of strong women who were just coming of age, and we had a Catholic sorority, Theta Phi Alpha, and I think we kind of hit each other's back all the way through school because of that.
What is your definition of feminism?
To me, feminine is not special rights, but equal rights, just like the civil rights movement. A lot of it, goes back to civil rights. And why shouldn't women have the same rights as men? One interesting thing I found out was back in the 1800s when Seneca Falls, they had the convention to push for women's rights. One of the backers, one of the people involved in it, was the former slave Frederick Douglass. And so you can see the correlation between the civil rights movement, or after the Civil War, the slaves being free, and this wonderful gentleman working into the women's group to help women get rights too.
Yeah.
And I just think there's just been a progression through the...
What did you think of Phyllis Schlafly?
She was an obstructionist. And the funny thing about Phyllis Schlafly is she was so afraid of women being if we got equal rights, women being drafted in the armed services, and unisex bathrooms. What do these Republicans have about bathrooms that drive them crazy? I don't get it. But the funny thing about Phyllis Schlafly was where she was fighting for women to be in the home and women, to have doors open for them and all that. All the things she was preaching for, she was the opposite of. She was a noted lawyer. She was a publicist. She wrote publications.
Yeah.
She also had a family.
Yeah.
She had everything that the women wanted to get, but she didn't want them to get it. So she really was an obstructionist to the ERA.
Wow. Did you vote for the first time you were able to?
Back when I was 21, that's when you voted. You could vote. My aunt, who you're named for, took me to the Board of Election, and I actually had to put my hand up and swear when I took the oath to vote. And since 1970, 71, when I did that, I have not missed one election. I have not missed a special election. I've not a general or the primary.
Well, that's all the women in our family.
All the women in our family are like that. Your great aunt got an award when she was in her 70s from the Board of Elections, saying she had never missed an election.
Wow. How do you feel about the Equal Right Amendment never being passed?
I think it's terribly disappointing. I do. And I think the fact that after all these years, that was like a 10-year effort from 72 to 82, that it even has to be brought up again is so disappointing.
Yeah.
And, hopefully maybe we can get a pass this time.
Yeah. Did you attend any strikes ever?
Well, we didn't, really, they didn't have strikes per se. They had sit-ins. And I can't remember ever, because I was at a pretty conservative school. At Thomas More, if you sat down in the hallway waiting to see a dean, they thought you were protesting something. So it really was very conservative. The women's movement, though, they made a big deal of burning their bras. For some reason, that was great, and people were just, the conservatives were just aghast at that. And but no, personally, I didn't know.
Do you have any memorabilia from this?
I really don't. I may at one time it had buttons or something like that. I know I had things left from the Vietnam War, but it really wasn't something that, like now you can get T-shirts and buttons and all this stuff, and it really wasn't that kind of a movement.
Yeah. Did you ever hear things that caught your mind from the movement?
Well, I think things come up that I realize, 20 years ago that wouldn't have happened, or 30 years ago. one of the big things that has come out of this is Title IX,
Yeah.
which means that any school, any educational facility who gets federal money have to have equal money for men and women
For sports.
for sports.
Yeah.
And well, for a lot of things, but especially for sports. You know, like, as I said, we grew up. You know, there was basketball and baseball and football
for
the boys, and there
For
really wasn't anything for girls. And now, who won the last USA or the World Soccer thing? USA Women's.
Really?
Awesome. But even now, they don't get paid what the men players get paid.
Yeah. Okay. Do you believe women have better opportunities now?
I think they do have better opportunities. However, I still think we have a long way to go. We still only make 77 cents towards a man earning $1. That has to improve. I think, as in other countries, we have paid family leave. We should have it. Everybody should be able to have, when you have a child, a man and a woman. And I know there are some companies who are doing that now. Spotify does it. Etsy does it. We have friends who work for those companies. Mm-hmm. I still think there's a long way to go. I think women are still trying to break that glass ceiling, trying to get into upper management. A lot more of them are now than ever was before, but still, I don't think there's an equal playing field there for men and women.
Okay, this is my last question.
Okay.
Do you feel that still women are talked down upon?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think if you just watch the debates, the Republican and Democratic debates, I think Carly Fiorina was very I think Donald Trump was very disrespectful to her, things he said about her. I think Hillary Clinton has taken hit after hit after hit. Mm-hmm. But she's one tough lady and she can take it. Mm-hmm. That's why I have the shirt on. And so I do feel that sometimes women, and this is where it's really important that women stand up for each other. You have to have each other's back. I tell the kids in the school that I'm at that we need to build each other up as women and not tear each other down. Mm-hmm. We're stronger that way. The country will be stronger that way. Mm-hmm. And the dream team would be Hillary and Elizabeth Warren. Because the men have screwed up things long enough. It's time for the women to come in and straighten it out.